Welcome. Oh my goodness. So, what do you all think about that new intro? I think that was kind of we'll find out, but I actually kind of like it, versus just coming straight in, right? Hardcore. But welcome to 2026, and it's going to be an interesting year. I think it's going to be a great year. There's some sentiment that this year, when it comes to the world of AI, this is the prove it year, where last year was about pilots. What is this thing? What are tokens? What is context? And this year is more about, are we actually getting some return on investment? Um, and we'll see. All right. We're just at the beginning of the year. Everyone has fresh optimism, or they got New Year's resolutions or goals. So we'll see what happens. I am actually excited to see what happens. How folks like myself can, impart some knowledge and actually use these tools versus all the information that's out there now, right? People don't know where to go, who to trust. So hopefully, we can bring some stability and some like repeated determinism in this non-deterministic world that we're faced with AI. With that being said, there's an interesting blog that was written recently by Microsoft's CEO. I hope I pronounced this right, but Satya Nadella published a blog post, which I think is kind of hilarious. But he is urging people to move beyond AI slop versus sophistication. What does that mean? Like right now, you know, there's this term called AI slop. I'm going to share my screen of like what he's begging people, but there's a term, a real term called AI slop. If you're like me, if you're scrolling through some of your favorite social media sites and you see video of people doing things, right? That could be termed as AI slop. But he's urging people to stop using the term and think of it more as like sophistication. So yeah, just check that out. I mean, he's begging people to really stop calling it slop, but you know, call a spade a spade. I am of the opinion that it is slop. And what I say that is like if you go through a brainstorming session with a group, right? Technically, that is slop. Technically, if everyone's just throwing ideas on the board, right? It's just a lot. It's just a lot of information. But how do you begin to organize it? I think that's what he's trying to say. But in my opinion, there's a lot of AI slop because people are doing things and there's just a lot of information. And if you don't read it, yes, that's slop, right? It's just a lot of information, and we gotta get to the point where we're sifting through this and we're getting better at generating information. And I can see like first passes of like AI generation as the brainstorming phase. Like you just brainstorm, you're trying to get the idea together, right? You can take that viewpoint, for instance, and then refine it, right? Refine the slop. So, I mean, that's what he really means when he's talking about, hey, AI slop versus sophistication. But I'm of the opinion it is slop. It can be very sloppy, especially if people are using the generated outputs of AI as the thing, all right, without reviewing it. Yeah, that is definitely sloppy. All right, I'm only bringing one story today because I want to actually complete an exercise that I started in the last episode where I got a coding agent, in particular Claude, to look at an old repo, um, some old code that I had over a decade ago. So I just asked it to, just review it. So today, I'm going to take it to the next step. I'm just going to demonstrate how to use Claude, in this case, to commit that Claude MD file that I created. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is I've been working with some clients where they're not 100% familiar with, Git, right? Everyone in the organization is not familiar with Git. However, with these tools, you can begin to leverage with natural language Git operations. Right? You can commit, you can use pull request. You can create a pull request. You can commit code. You can review repos, as I demonstrated previously. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate a couple things. I'm going to demonstrate exiting out of Claude and then going back into it and continuing my conversation, so I can then commit the code. So with that being said, I am going to share my terminal, and in this terminal, it's actually where I left off previously. So I'm going to exit. I'm going to use the / command called exit, where you can exit Claude. So imagine a day you come in, to your terminal, you start your machine, and there's nothing, right? You don't have the chat history. But with Claude, with these / commands, you can actually resume your chat. So here I've instantiated Claude. I'm going to use the / command resume. Because I didn't give it an ID, I can, and I only have one conversation. I can just enter it. So that was the first prompt that I issued, which is, what do you know about the repo? So I'm back inside of it. And I can continue. The context is refreshed, is back. Right? I know exactly where I am. Well, me as a human, I know where I am. But with AI, with these tools, it continues to train. Right? You could think of these as little trains. So with that being said, I'm just going to ask you what changes are in this branch. And you and I know that we created a Claude MD in episode 2. Well, maybe you don't know that, but in episode 2, I created the Claude MD file. So this should see that. And me as an engineer, I know how to use Git, right? So I can easily issue Git commands and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Claude to commit. I'm going to ask it to create a branch, commit. And I'm actually not going to let it push, but I'm just going to get it to commit the code, right? And I'm not going to use just simple words. So I'm going to say branch, and it should understand what it is, branch and commit. And let's see what happens. All right, it should infer this context from Git, right? So it's using the Git tools, as you can see here, it's running bash. It's checking, it's doing exactly what I would do. I would check the Git status to see what changes are there. All right, it did a diff as well. It's actually looking at the changes and see what actually changed. But it's actually not reviewing, but it is saying that, hey, there are changes. Now it's asking, hey, let's create the branch. Can I create the branch, AD? Of course, Claude. Create the branch. So now it's running through, it's added the file. And now it's saying, hey, now can I run the git commit message or command? So I'm going to give it the privileges to do that. So now, hey, Claude is running away with it. It checked that I actually had changes. It created a branch, and then it committed those changes. As simple as that. As you can see, the git commit SHA is here, right? And I, as an engineer, AD, I didn't run a git command, even though I know about it. Like, I can exit out of Claude and do that today. But imagine having multiple of these going at the same time, right? You can parallelize yourself. That is the difference, right? I can easily do a onesie, twosie, hey, AD, work on this ticket, work on this feature, write this code. But how do I 2x myself? How does it make a second AD, right? This starts to lead there, right? And then how can I not only replicate AD, but how can I get the team to leverage whatever I'm creating? It's some pretty powerful stuff, right? Right now, I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg on what is and what is possible, right? Much more to come, much more to unpeel, much more to unpack. But again, I just wanted to show and demonstrate as an engineer, there are ways of understanding what the code is. Now I'm starting with engineering, right? Because it's logic. But you can use these same principles on the product side. You can use it on the QA side. You can use it on biz dev. Right? You can use it in sales. However, I'm an engineer, so I'm using the coding agents. But it does not preclude me from taking this mindset and applying it in other parts of the organization. Right. Again, more to come. Right. It's exciting. Like I said, 2026 is going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a great year as we all come together and begin to build together. I do want to share that I am partnering with the Atlanta Tech Meetup Group. So I will be hosting some meetups in Atlanta pretty soon, right? More to come. But let's continue to build. Let's continue to create. Let's figure this thing out together, and we can do it. So until the next time, I will see you at the next update.